Welcome to another episode of HCP Visits. Here's your host, Woody Watts.
This is Woody Watts with Hill City Paranormal, and today I have a special guest, and his name is Warren. He reached out to us with a Bigfoot encounter that he saw, and he actually has his own Bigfoot investigation group. And Warren, first of all, tell me a little bit about yourself and tell me your experience that you've had with Bigfoot. It's an interesting one.
Well, I first, I started, because I went to school to become a police officer, and I know some investigation tips, so I started watching this Finding Bigfoot, on Animal Planet, which is no longer on the air, but so I used some of their tactics, and it was in Kinzua Dam in Pennsylvania on the old train trestle. And I didn't expect to get anything, which was a shock to me that I did. So I brought two wood clappers, to mimic the wood knocks. And I got some in response too. And I did some whoops, and I heard a grunt in response. And then I heard some rocks being thrown on the train trestle down beneath. And I'm like, what's going on here? And I smelled this musky odor that really smelled really bad, and I wanted to go down there and check it out, but it didn't, because it was a hilly terrain. So next time I go down there, I'll have a crew with me that has ATVs, and then we can actually go down the slopes. So,
well, that's interesting. So, give me a little bit of detail about the tactics that you used. Describe how you went about that, and how long was it before you actually saw something and you got a response?
Well, I was up on the train trestle. It's in the evening, so I did some whoops and I did some Bigfoot calls. Then I did some tree knocks, with those two clappers I made. Then I did vocalizations, try to communicate with them. And one thing I did do is I brought something because I'm a Native American, part Native as well. Because our tribe that I'm a part of, we believe in a gifting strategy. And the funny thing is, I rolled down an apple down by, there was an old rest area in that specific area. I left it there, and when I went back the next day, there was like another thing there. It was some weird thing that I don't even recall what it was. It was so weird. It's either a bone or something.
Oh, wow. Okay. Did you bring that back with you, or did you leave that there?
No, I left it there, because I was at first I'm like, what would leave that there? I was confused at the time because I was like, I just left him an apple. Why would something leave a bone there? I thought it was a random wild animal at first, but it wasn't.
Sure.
Because I saw these big old footprints. I wish I would have brought the casting materials to get it casted, but the footprints are I'm a size 9.5. This is at least another foot on my foot.
Oh, wow.
So just imagine a 9.5 size shoe person adding on another 9.5. So that's about 19.
All right, so do me a favor and describe this area. What does this area look like in the surroundings of this particular spot you had this encounter?
Well, this was an old train trestle. So what they did is they built out. There was a storm years ago that blew down the train tracks. They left those all there, and they rebuilt out to where it fell down. So you would have a lookout, and then behind there, down there, they didn't bring up all the old pieces. There's scrap metal down below there, and it was on a hilly terrain. It was going up the slope and everything. They like being in those corridors and stuff like that, right in that area. I've noticed. And it's just a weird, like how they communicate is weird, but, it's just and then I had my dog with me too, and it kind of reacted funny to it.
So, all right. So how long have you always believed that, a Sasquatch exists? And you said you've watched Finding Bigfoot, which I know the show and love the show, and I'm sad it's not on TV anymore. But have you always kind of, believed in Bigfoot? And after this encounter, have you been heightened to its presence, or does that make you want to go out and search more? Or, have you gone back? And give me some details on that.
Well, it intrigued me, no doubt about it. I've always believed in it because we believe I'm part of the Seneca tribe, natives, and we consider the Bigfoot a sacred animal because what they believe in, the Sasquatch, we call them Sasquatch, not Bigfoot, but right over here, in my tribe we call them Sasquatch, and some of the other tribes we talk to call them like Manahoonies, Yetis, and stuff like that. And but this thing that I've heard was pretty big. I can tell you that much. I heard it. I heard like twig snapping at the time too. So, and which got me intrigued. So what I did was I bought a drone. I got to learn how to fly it, but because we're going to expand anything that we can get. Like, I got a tag-along RV, so that's basically my command center. Basically.
I got you. Okay.
And I think going out in the nature also, seeing, what they live on. I've been studying this for actually a while. I actually did a school project back in my senior year on whether they exist or not. We had to do a project on a myth that they thought, that I thought was true, one of our beliefs, and that's what I did it on.
Oh, wow. So it's kind of come full circle. You did a report in high school and then actually had an experience that most people don't have.
Yeah, and this is, I've had dreams about it, and I've heard other stories which I don't want to happen to me, but how a hunter got kidnapped by one of these things. They love kidnapping women or whatever, hold them hostage.
Oh, wow. All right. So yeah, tell me about that story. So are those stories that you've heard happened in your area or just in general?
In the general area that I live in, I live on by Allegheny. And from what I heard, is that there was a couple of sightings, and and the funny thing about it is that this was not my only encounter I had with a Bigfoot. Because another instance, if I didn't bring this up in my recording earlier, is that I was in Canada at this time, in the mid part of Canada, Algonquin or whatever state park. And I just felt like something was watching me, and I didn't know what it was. At first I thought it was a moose, but it moves awfully quick, and I know moose don't move all that quickly. This thing was moving, and there was like twigs and rocks being thrown.
Oh, wow.
And we heard wolves, but there was another thing, you howling besides wolves that sounded a lot different than wolves. Let me tell you, I was trying to sleep in my tag-along RV, and I hear this screaming. Like, I was like, what the heck? And the wolves are responding to it. I'm like, oh, boy, what is that? And I've always believed, and I'm like, that's probably a Bigfoot in the background of the wolf's howl. And I'm not the only one to cite these in Canada. And I believe, there's a friend of mine that's no longer around here, around where I live. Mm-hmm. He collected this hair on a tree that was like a brown, longish hair type fur. And there's no grizzly bear up where I live. There's only black there. So this was a big, long strand of hair. There was no human because he found it up in a tree because he does tree sapping and stuff. And he found it just dangling there. And I saw it in person. I'm like, dude, get that analyzed. And he handed it in to somebody that he knew. And sure enough, it was something that they couldn't get a hold of. No other species of animal.
Oh, wow. Okay. So it came back like unidentified. They couldn't identify what it was. Interesting. Now, that was in Canada, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Have you been back to that area since that? Like, I mean, did you ever go back after, they found the hair and you had your experience there? Did you ever go back there?
No, what I'm doing is I'm mapping out all these areas, and have one big excursion to go down there with my team that I get. I'm starting to form here. I got maybe 3 people. And what we're going to do is we're going to spread out along the corridors and stuff like that so we can have more trail cameras, more and everything else like that.
Man, that's interesting.
Because I want to get one of these things on tape and prove they exist.
Exactly.
Because I wanted to go to this Peterson Gimlin. I don't know if you're aware of it, but I forget where it was. But it was a Bigfoot, like where you go and see things where they show off pamphlets and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I forget what lake it was on. But it's about 2 hours away from me. I was going to go to it, but it got canceled, unfortunately, because the people couldn't make it there. And actually, the Peterson Gimlin was actually going to be there.
Oh, man, that's, yeah.
And this Chautauqua was Lake Chautauqua. That's what it was, on that lake right there. And Chautauqua Lake. And let me tell you, these things are elusive. And people could be like, oh, hunters say they never seen it. Well, they come out early in the morning, I've noticed. And some days that, they do come out. But you just got to have one of those special ones that, do come out, during the day. Because they mostly come out during the night. They don't want to get seen, I don't think. And you got to earn their trust for them to communicate back. Because if they don't trust you, if they don't really, because you got to earn their trust, you got to respect their territory.
No, well, tell me, so tell me, like, your approach, like, you're kind of leading into that. Tell me your approach when it sounds like you're not really trying to investigate them, more so you just kind of happen onto the sightings, or are you out there, like trying to find them, hunting for them? And if so, like, what are your methods, like, for that? Like, you just go into the woods and something happens, or are you kind of always aware and out there looking for them?
Well, I'm always looking for clues on where they are and stuff like that. I always have my eye open, because one day like in the same area in Canada, I was walking. I swear to God, I saw something run through the bushes. That would look like a huge man. Let me tell you, and it just scared me and. And my mom got scared too, so we left because we didn't know what the thing was. We at first we thought it was a bear, but then I come to think about it, it was up on its hind legs, and bears don't run on their hind legs. And which it was just they just shot right. It was like a bolt. Let me tell you, a bolt of lightning. It was like a whoosh, and I'm like, there's no big creature like that can ever move.
Yeah,
like that unless it's a Bigfoot. Because Bigfoot are huge. They got those long legs. They just glide, and they can move fast. And some of them can move faster than a cheetah. And I was like, but I want to form a bond. This is my strategy: is try to get, because I don't want them to think I'm going to harm them. I want to make sure they know I'm not going to harm them. I'm just trying to study them and not going to hurt them. Get their respect, and they get mine as well. So I create a bond with them first.
Okay,
that's what we've always done. So and we've always seen success.
So you believe, like, so then that leads to Bigfoot being very aware or partially aware, and almost like they can sense different people's smells and a presence as well. They're just not a blind wild animal out there attacking things. The way you're explaining it, then you can develop some sort of relationship with them, is what you believe, right?
Yes, because they form some sort of communication with humans, and I believe that they're another animal being out there that, that's just a big primate. That's my belief. My belief is that they've always existed years upon years, and people say, oh, what are you drinking or what are you smoking or whatever. They don't exist. I'm like, yeah, it does. It's probably more real than Santa Claus. I don't say that around kids, but
yeah.
I mean, but seriously, Sasquatch, is probably an intelligent creature because how it can build their little huts and stuff like that. They're and how they hunt. That gets my thing going. It's how do they survive, and they're very strong creatures.
Sure.
I can tell you because no human can push down a tree with their bare hands.
No.
From what I've seen out in the trails and stuff, I've seen trees knocked over in weird ways. I'm like, there's no human that could do that, no bear.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It was a hunt and whatever, that I've seen too back in Canada as well, because there's more trails on that. They take you deeper in the woods and stuff. And they've actually, the Finding Bigfoot crew also went there to the same, I go to the same place that they go to usually. So I could do my own investigation as well. So I can get the full, feel, of what they did. Because I want to prove people wrong, that Bigfoot do exist and not people that are saying, oh, Bigfoot don't exist. It's like the same thing. You probably investigate other things too besides Bigfoot sightings.
Yes, exactly.
Like paranormal.
Exactly. And, the funny part is about, being a paranormal group, we've branched out to, Bigfoot sightings, Sasquatch sightings, UFOs, because, it's those unexplainable events. You never know if they're, linked or not, but it's just a ton of unexplained events. And to think that there couldn't be a creature out there that can be that invisible, I think is naive. I think that that there animals right now that absolutely exist, but how many times do you really see them? So
it's rare to see a moose. Because as often as I tried to see a moose, I couldn't.
Yep.
They hide in between the trees, and you don't even know that they're there because they blend in. And deer around me, you can't even see them, not even know if they're right there. And I've seen, animals that are weird looking. I'm like, does that really exist?
Yes, exactly.
And I also believe in the Loch Ness Monster as well, too, because on the one episode of Finding Bigfoot, they went over there hunting for them, not Bigfoot.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
I absolutely believe that there's some large monsters in the ocean and under the water that we have no idea, because we have no clue what's under there. Really, and really to think again that there's not a animal like Bigfoot or some type of even a dinosaur under the water. I just don't see how you couldn't think that. With one, yes, you have evidence, and of course you have skeptics and fake stuff and all that. But in the end, it's like from a logical standpoint, there absolutely could be, and we would never see it.
Yeah, like there was this one show, I forget what it's called, but a Bigfoot excursion, and a random hawk was found dead on a hut or something. I was just watching this past Sunday. I forget, it was Bigfoot something expedition, Bigfoot expedition or something. It's on the Travel Channel, Saturdays at 10. And let me tell you, they found a hawk in this hut little area, like a camp, just laying there dead. So I'm like, how would someone even kill that? There was no bullet wound or anything. So what I'm thinking is the Bigfoot went up and just, caught it like a baseball player would have.
Yeah.
Just reached up and caught it and killed it. Because, it's just a weird thing in how Bigfoots communicate. Like on the show, the Bigfoot left a random acorn and a shoulder bone on a stump randomly. No human would ever do that, or any other animal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they left them a marble on an apple. They gifted with Bigfoot, and that's been working, and that's what I believe in too. Gifting, that earns and bonds and creates a bond, saying, "Oh, they're just help me out, and so I'm going to help them out." So, because they know that terrain way better than we will.
Exactly.
They're out there. They're a lot more powerful. I would rather have a big creature like that help me out than some random person off the street.
Yeah.
As weird as that might sound, but they've been there for years, walking around these areas, and it just intrigued me, and I've always believed in them ever since I was 10 years old. So, and I'm 25, so about 15 years I believed in these things. It's just...
Well, tell me what type of gear? So when you say you have your own team, you're developing your own team. Well, ideally, in your experience, so you've been out, you've had some experiences, you've actually smelled the odor of a Bigfoot, and you've actually seen them. In your experience, what would be the ideal equipment setup to go out and to try to capture legitimate evidence of this existing? Like, what would be in your perfect world, what would you set up to catch this?
Well, I would try to get some casting materials to get the footprint all casted and done with. That would be where I would start out, just in case I find a footprint and stuff like that. And then I would have some evidence bags, for like baggies to collect any samples, like a hair sample or whatever. And then when we go do these night excursions and everything, because I have a couple of friends that are going to be joining my team here, is actually military people. They're veterans, and they actually have night vision goggles and thermal gear. They'll at least have that, and we're because we want to be prepared just in case we come across a nasty Bigfoot, because there are some nasty creatures out there that don't like communicating. If you're on their land or territory, they'll attack either way. So we got somebody that's standing there. We would not want to shoot him, but if he starts attacking, then we would have to defend ourselves.
Yeah.
And we have that, because some of these people just go out alone without anything.
Yeah.
And but I would have, but more so, I would rather try to communicate with them, try to create a bond and friendship with them, and make sure they know that we're not going to hurt them.
Sure.
We're there to just, help them out or whatever.
Now, so that leads me to, and I guess this is kind of a, could be a deeper question, but so say you do get evidence, right? So say that you've had, you get evidence you can show someone. Like, what do you do with that? And do you think that, like, given the fact that, like you said, like you can bond with this creature, and it does have like a personality type. I mean, would you want the flood of people to come investigate that, or like what? Like, so, like, say you get evidence, then what would you do with it? Personally, what would you do with it?
Well, I would personally send it somewhere where it can get analyzed properly. That would get proper results. Instead of just saying, "Oh, that's just a hair," that's inconclusive. I want it, done properly, and indulge in the evidence and stuff like that. Because some of this evidence is just looked at and say, "Oh, this is a hoax. This is just a hair from a costume or whatnot." I would send it, or I'll give it to somebody that will process the samples I would collect. And then the casting, I would give it to, and I would actually document it too on a camera, because I got a video camera. I would put like a size comparison, like a action figure or something, or a ruler or something next to the footprint, to show you the size of it. And I would actually send that in to get it analyzed too, to see what actually it is. Because because some of these things, some of these people, there are hoaxes. I'll have to admit, some of these hoaxes are, like I've seen on YouTube, a Bigfoot sighting. There's a Bigfoot holding a for sale sign, a property sign. I'm like, that's fake.
yeah, exactly.
No fake, no wild animal is going to hold a sign for a guy. And I can tell you, there was this other fake one that this guy had his camera on his windowsill of his kitchen. 3 or 4 days goes by, there's nothing. But on the final night he leaves it out, there's something dancing around. And it looked like almost a human in a ghillie suit.
a dancing Bigfoot, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, no, I don't think Bigfoot dance unless they're doing some, whatever you want to call it. But I mean, it's just that some of these people like to say, oh, there's Bigfoot. They try to rob the system. And because from what I've heard, you get paid for the footage that you get or whatever, or picture.
Okay.
So people like to scam people and say, oh, that's a Bigfoot. And then these people get scammed. Let me tell you, it's not right.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of those fake, I know several where there was one where this group claimed they had the body of Bigfoot in a cooler, right? And then they were taking it around, showing everybody, and then but they wouldn't let anyone get really close to it. And then all of a sudden, someone actually got a piece of the hair, and sure enough, it was a costume that had been in ice and just made to look like it. And of course, that instantly makes everybody's credibility go, down the toilet. And so if you actually did collect real evidence, I mean, you'd have to take it to a professional place and get it certified, and recertified, and everything.
I have a friend of mine that actually works in a crime scene lab that does like hair, like the fingerprints, and then the analysis and whatever of hairs and stuff like that. And they collect evidence, and they're a crime scene investigator, which I asked them if I gave them a sample in the future, would they be able to do anything with it? And he said, yeah, sure.
Oh, that's a good friend to have.
So, I mean, that's the type of team I'm forming here that can actually have each other's back and everything. And when we get, because what we're doing, we meet, because we do it only in the summertime because the winter's kind of harsh in some places. Mm-hmm. So we do it only in the summertime because, they might be running around in the snow, but we're not going to be doing that.
Yeah, you don't want to get caught out there in that, and with a Sasquatch, chasing you.
Yeah, but I mean, let me tell you, there was we come prepared, my group and I. We've been planning this for 2 or 3 years now, and it started from just 2 people. Now we got about 7 people, and we're trying to get up to 10 or 12 people, because what we're going to have in 6 different areas 2 people. So then one could be doing calls, one could be doing wood knocks and stuff like that, surfacing the area, trying to flush it out. And that's what I'm trying to say is you got to, maybe you burn it enough, trust will show itself to you.
Sure.
And you don't have to chase it out or whatever. Because I feel that one of these days somebody is going to earn their trust so much they're going to show themselves.
Yeah,
I think, because I think it's actually getting closer than we all think.
That would be nice, wouldn't it? That would be really nice.
There's people waiting. There's actually people. There's this Native American. I heard a story about this. There's this Native American that left something for Sasquatch, or Bigfoot, whatever you want to call him. And next thing you know it, he wakes up, he goes to where he left the gift, and there was a deer pelt there, randomly. So then he leaves something else there, and the next thing he finds berries. and then so on and so forth. Like it's like, oh, I'll scratch, if you scratch mine, I'll scratch yours, basically. And the Bigfoots will, because they, have their way of communication, I guess. Their gifts are weird, but it's like the bones and stuff like that. But I mean, and the odors, and it's because there's no odor, that would describe that, to be honest. The skunky smell with the manure. It's like a skunk rolled in cow manure.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like a really musky smell. I couldn't even, get that for a couple of days. I kept smelling that because it's so musky. Let me tell you, And what I believe in too is that my dad asked me, "Oh, do you believe in flying saucers and whatnot?" Because he believes in those. He's not a believer of Bigfoot. But I think in some sort of way that UFOs and Bigfoots are linked up together, because in some beliefs they call actually Bigfoot Wookiees. You like Chewbacca?
Yeah.
And I feel that some it might not be all Bigfoots, but it could be. One of them, one or two, it could be a whole nother species that came from a different living, but like another planet. That's another possibility to me, that it could be another, planet out there.
Yeah.
That they just came down and they look like big giant walking apes. The Peterson Gimlin film. And they said that people think that's a robot, and there was no robot thing about it. It had muscles, and the video was analyzed too. So, I mean, these people that think it's fake, that this animal doesn't exist, wait till they see them, because on the show that I was just watching, there was a cop, police officer, retired police officer that saw one walking on the marsh or whatever you want to call it, the swamp area. And he heard something fall, like a tree being knocked over. Next thing you know it, he sees this big thing walking away, and he's still shooken up about it. He didn't believe in it at first. Then he saw it, and he's like, holy cow, this thing does exist.
Yeah.
And it's just like, these Bigfoots are very intelligent. They're elusive. I don't know why people say they don't see them. They're very elusive. They hide. I can't press this enough. They hide all the time. They blend right into the environment. You could be walking past a tree and they're right behind it. That's why I always look around when I'm walking around. So just in case I see something that's out of the ordinary.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And I always feel, if I feel a presence, I always investigate a little further, because how I pick up, because I have this thing that a couple of my friends have too, is how we can feel that something's around us that's not, known. Like, we can feel something's out there. Like the one day we were walking down this path, like my mom and I, and what made me do the calls at the Conduit Dam place in Pennsylvania, I felt something that was below us, watching us, waiting for us to communicate with it, And I just I had a feeling that something was going to respond. Patience. You gotta have patience with these creatures, because sometimes they don't always answer back.
Sure.
They're like, it's just them monkeying around. No, I'm not going to respond to them. They'll respond if they want to respond. Let me tell you. Either throwing rocks at you, that means leave, or if they answer back without doing anything, then you're safe around them, I guess, from what I've... because I don't want to have a rock thrown at me. I think that he was trying to get my attention throwing the rocks, so that otherwise he'd probably thrown it upwards.
Yeah, exactly.
On the trestle.
Well, and the thing is that with a lot of these sightings and experiences, they're pretty consistent. So, I mean, you really do have, like you said yourself, I mean, there's been quite a few people saying the rock throwing and the wood knocking and everything else. So The one thing that I have to say about Bigfoot sightings and everything, they are, over however many years, have been pretty much the same. So it's not like you have one person seeing one completely different creature. They tend to have the same habits.
Mm-hmm. And they come in all different shapes and sizes. Like in Hawaii, I believe, there's this Menehune, this little short, hairy guy running around. The ones around us is big and tall, but the ones down in there is like a small, short little guy running around, and it's like, okay. And there's this white one, too, that's called the Yeti.
Yes.
And I have a
Yes.
cousin of mine that actually lives up in Alaska. And he's seen one. He's seen a pure white one.
Oh, wow.
He was working, he was a lumberjack at first, and he was cutting down a tree, and he's seen this big old white thing looking at him. It scared him, let me tell you, from what I've heard. And he's got his own plane, so if my team can get out there somehow, he can fly around so we can actually get up in the air to see the foundation of where the sightings are. Because what we're going to do, because I got a YouTube channel and everything, where my team and I are going to start a series on my YouTube channel. And I don't know what to call it yet, but we'll think of it. What we're going to do, we're going to record everything, and then we're going to do like witnesses and stuff, like the Finding Bigfoot crew.
Yes.
And everything.
Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing is about it, the person I did talk to about this as well, on his podcast, when I first happened, this was all fresh when I talked to Cliff from Finding Bigfoot. You know Cliff, the guy from Finding Bigfoot?
Yes, sir. Yep.
And I talked to him, and he said, we'll go back there at one point, because they stayed at the same exact campground I stayed at, too. And which is, kind of cool. And so they went back and they investigated it, and sure enough, they got the same results that I did. They did the same exact things I did, but they had a ATV down there.
Mm.
They got a big gator, those 4x4s.
Yeah, they go everywhere, yeah.
And so they found some unique evidence down there. Like they found big old footprints and indentations where they sat down and stuff like that. Let me tell you, I wish I could have gone down there.
Oh,
now
yeah.
they probably found some unique things.
Oh, that
like
would have been fun.
Indentations in the ground.
Yeah.
And, and it's like these people are like, oh, maybe they'll play a game or shake my hand. They're not going to do that. They'll probably break your arm. If you try to shake their hand.
They'll throw you the length of a football field. That's not going to happen.
Probably what I would do, I would try to at least have a meal with it, at least, sit there and, make him something or whatnot. It maybe sounds comedian, but I think, if you have enough respect and with them and they have respect for you, then they might sit down.
Yes. I think that's the key too. I think that's what I'm finding out in our investigation is that the key word is respect. You have to respect even the idea of there being a creature out there with that size and strength. And then if you respect it, you and if you're open to it, you can find the evidence. But if you're out there, like you said, being reckless and this and that, then you probably won't come away with anything valuable.
Yeah, because if you're just running around yelling, they're going to be like, oh, no, this guy's being a jerk, And one thing they don't like is you shooting. Because one thing I did hear, I don't know if it's true or not, I don't know if you heard it, but this guy was a hunter, right? Mm-hmm. He went to shoot something, and then a Bigfoot comes out of nowhere and breaks a gun in half and runs off.
Oh, wow.
Wow. It's just like these Bigfoot, these Sasquatches, are very intelligent creatures, and one actually defended another human from something. I don't know what, but from what I've heard, they also will defend other things. If you have the respect, with them and, a bond, they will actually help you out along the way.
Yeah. And they sound very protective. Because like you said, if you go into their land or that area that one has been seen, they protect that. You know, well, just like anybody would their home. You know, you don't want people coming up in your house.
Yeah. Yeah, because the one thing, one of my tactics, because one of my friends, because the one thing I did read up on, they're intrigued by little kids. I don't know why, but they're intrigued, especially the female Sasquatches. They're intrigued by little kids. They like to go around playgrounds. So I have a friend of mine that has a little daughter that's willing to run around. You know, we're not going to let anything hurt her, but she's just going to run around as if anything pops up. She's not going to leave our eyesight, but they'll probably come and watch us because they love watching kids play, from what I heard.
Interesting. Yeah.
You know, they love watching kids play, and, you know, I think the extra, the paranormal also ties into this as well, Bigfoot, because from what I know and from what I understand, Bigfoot can communicate somehow with the non-living. I don't know how weird that sounds, but that's what I heard from a friend of mine that's, also in my tribe as well, a native. And because it was a weird sound that wasn't a Bigfoot or anything that they heard of, it was a weird wailing sound with a, how these spirits sound, some point they make a weird sound.
Yes.
And, well, Bigfoot can communicate with these things, I don't know, these spirits. Because that's what my tribe believes in spirits as well, because we looked into it, and some animals can communicate with the dead, too, with spirits. Wow. Cats can see them. I think dogs can see them, too. It depends on...
I mean, wouldn't that be wouldn't that be interesting? Is like some of the theories that you've kind of brought up that I really haven't thought about. Is that what if Bigfoot was an alien, and then Bigfoot can communicate with spirits? What if like Bigfoot is the common link of all paranormal and unknown? Wouldn't that be? I mean, that would be something that Bigfoot, a creature, out in the wild, can link everything together.
Yeah, because, just imagine it's just that these things can communicate with all the living and non-living, and which is, because these Bigfoot are smarter than some humans. They're smarter than some of my friends, let me tell you. No offense to my friends, but these things are way smarter than them.
Well, they've avoided contact for how long? So they must be somewhat intelligent.
Yeah, and they still survive. In my opinion, they'll be like, "Oh, that's just a big giant man, all hairy. He hasn't shaved in years." I'm like, "No, that's a different species of animal."
Yeah.
It's just that you got to study, and that's the reason why I started studying primates, is monkeys and stuff, like behaviors and stuff like that of monkeys, gorillas. Because gorillas are closely related to Sasquatches.
Yes. I have heard that, yes.
And so I actually made an acquaintance in a gorilla. So, I mean, I kind of, know how to treat other, like, primates and stuff like that. So,
well, that is an interesting thing, too, because if you look at gorillas or primates that have been in shelters or anything, they do develop bonds with their caretakers. I mean, they can do sign language. So imagine if it isn't a relative of that and just a little bit smarter, absolutely could communicate and bond and know the presence of someone else.
Yeah, like, for example, like I can see things like, let me tell you this, because I have these weird abilities I found that I have, that I can actually communicate with either, I could see things that are, that normal people cannot see. I could see I can hear things that are miles away. I could see things happening before they happen, and people don't listen to me, but then it happens.
Yeah.
Like for example, this is evidence that I can see things before they happen. One day I come out of my pre-surgical testing, right? Mm-hmm. Then I tell my dad that we might not want to leave yet. Something bad's gonna happen. He said, "Oh, I want to get home." I'm like, "Okay, we better not." And he still says, "Well, I want to get out of here." Next thing we know it, we're in a car accident, and people, and he's like, "Didn't you say something bad was going to happen?" I'm like, "Yeah, but no one wants to listen." And then when I say that, like, you're gonna, like, and I can communicate with things that, like, I can, because I have with animals, I have a way with animals. Like, let me tell you, I told a lion at my zoo, I live in Buffalo, New York, and let me tell you, I told this lion to roar, and guess what it did? It did. It roared as soon as I asked it to.
Man, you sound like you are very in tuned with, you know, like you can go out in nature, and it sounds like you're very in tune with your surroundings and nature, because when you go out, you have experiences, and like that, you can actually communicate. So that's interesting. So if the next time you go out with your group, or you go Bigfoot hunting, you've got to keep me updated, because it sounds like you have a special bond where when you go out there, something's going to happen. It's just a matter of catching it on camera, right?
Yeah, it's just like, I have a feeling that I'm going to, one of these days I'm going to catch the first footage of Bigfoot. I just got this crazy, feeling.
Yeah. Well, if you do, you know who to call, right? You're gonna call me, and we're gonna get it out there. I want to be the first one to interview you about it, and show everybody the pictures.
Yeah, like, it's a funny wish, but like I always say to people, like, well, what's your craziest dream that you want to ever have? I'm like, it's fine you say that, it's going to be hard, but just having a big old Bigfoot on a leash, proving that he exists.
That's it.
Yeah,
just walking in town. Here comes Warren walking down the street with Bigfoot there, and proved everybody wrong. There you go, proof right here.
Yeah, here's a big giant man, and I came it to where he allows people to pull at its fur to see if it's a mask or whatnot, and the mask don't come off. Holy, they'll jump back and say, "Oh, this thing's actually real. I'm going to back away."
That's it. Like that would prove it. Well, you probably still have some people out there that were like, "Nah, it's fake. It's just a really good costume." You can't prove everybody.
Yeah, it would be, but I think I would make some people believers. Let me tell you that much. I just, and they're very smart, because these Bigfoot, like, they actually know how to survive out there.
Yeah.
Like, they know how to keep warm at night, even though with all that fur and everything, they know how to survive. They know everything around there, what they use, and they actually take bark off of a tree to start a fire. I don't know how they start the fire, but without matches, but they must do it, because they know how to, and the other thing that I do look for, because some of them, believe it or not, they don't always stay outside. Sometimes, if there's a cavern, like a cave,
yes,
they will go inside the cave and sleep. If the weather's bad,
interesting,
they go inside to get cover. They're smart.
Yeah, they're smarter than we give them credit for.
Yeah, let me tell you, these things are, they have respect. They bury their own, and let's just say that a dog got along with a Bigfoot. I heard a story about that too, about how a stray dog, had a friendship with a Bigfoot somehow. Because he was a believer, and he adopted the dog, and no one believed him. Because he happened to see, he was walking in the woods, and he saw this big old creature with a dog sitting there.
Huh.
And it just, weird thing is that, these weird things do happen, that you don't expect to see. The animals know how to communicate with each other, in different ways. And that's the other thing, like, just don't, if you ever go Bigfoot hunting, make sure you don't get too close to them, because they have a tone where tigers have it, so I forget what they call it, but they can give you a headache and you'll feel all, like, tired. You'll feel ill if you get it. if they yell out and you're close to it, you'll get a bad headache.
Oh wow.
The monotone
okay.
or something.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. That's an interesting.
Because I was watching the show and they were near this Bigfoot that did a howl, and actually, he gets sick. And he feels ill. He gets a headache and tired all of a sudden. Like tigers do that to stun you. So it stuns you. And it's just it's a part of a howl that they do, I guess. It's a defense mechanism in their roar or whatever you want to call it.
Well, and it may be one of the reasons why, no one has any concrete evidence. Because you combine all that we've talked about. If they bury their young, if they bury they're dead, you won't find any bones laying around. If they have these common traits that other animals do have, it's combined in this one creature, it absolutely could be hidden in the woods and no one see it, because it's almost like the perfect blend, basically, of a camouflaged creature.
Yeah, and the funny thing is about it, I got a T-shirt that has actually a picture, and the Finding Bigfoot crew did. It was actually in Pennsylvania. I don't know. It was picking up an apple from an apple tree, and next thing you know, it was they thought it was a black bear. But it had these long arms bending over and picking up an apple or something, and the picture says, "Bear my ass," basically, saying, "Oh, it's not a bear."
Yes.
It's a picture of a legit Bigfoot on my shirt that I have somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's called "Bear my ass." Sorry for my language, but that's exactly what it says on the thing there. So
yeah, this has been so interesting. I feel like I could have 100 episodes with you on it. And man, we need to stay in touch and you keep me updated on your investigations and your theories and your ideas and your knowledge of it. Is just I'm blown away, to be honest with you, and I'm so glad you reached out to me.
Yeah, it is. Well, maybe, if things go, where are you from anyways? I just want to.
We are located in Central Virginia. So we are actually at the base of, pretty close to the Blue Ridge Mountains. We live at the foot of that. So we've had quite a few sightings, reports ourselves here. We're kind of in a good location for that, but it sounds like you know some locations as well.
Well, let me tell you, maybe, you and your team would come down and meet up with me down in Kinzua, and I could show you where I did my investigation, and maybe,
we'd love that.
Evidence.
Absolutely.
And stuff like that.
I am going to take you up on that. That is a guarantee, because when you sent me, when you reached out, I immediately was Googling the location to see how far of a drive it was to start the plan.
Yeah.
So man, I'm going to absolutely take you up on that.
Yeah. And there's a campground that's not too far. It's called KOA, Pennsylvania. It's not called KOA, Pennsylvania, but it's in Pennsylvania, the KOA campground. So I mean, I think it would actually be good for your podcast and everything. Like if we did like a joint thing.
I'm all for it, man. We'll line it up. We'll come out and tag team an investigation and film it and podcast it, and it'd be fun. Especially with your knowledge, it'd be fun to follow you around. So, man, I appreciate you reaching out.
Yep, and actually, I've learned some things from. And I actually, believe it or not, I actually made good friends with a couple of people of the Finding Bigfoot team, like Cliff and Bobo.
They're good friends to have. They're good friends to have in that field.
And that's actually where I learned, and some of the stuff I have, on the calls and stuff like that from Bobo, and knowledge of it from Cliff. So, and I have a hat. I got to find it. That Bobo wears, called Gone Squatching or something.
Yes,
so
I know the hat. I know it well.
That's how much of a believer I have. I have a backpack full of different equipment, like the two 4x4s that I clap together.
Yes.
So I mean,
well, we'll make it happen.
How much of a believer I am.
Don't you worry. We're going to make it happen, man. I appreciate you reaching out, and your stories are amazing, and I'm gonna follow up with you. But Man, thank you for being on, and I appreciate all you sharing all your knowledge and experiences with us.
Yep. Thank you for your time.
All right, Warren, man, you have a good one.
Be sure to check out our website at hillcityparanormal.com. And thank you for listening.